You have to be your own best medical advocate. You have to be. And the more and can stand up for yourself, there's nobody is a god. Not me, not a doctor. There's nobody that's a god and nobody that knows your body as well as you do. Start paying attention. It gives signs. The body gives us signs. We just a lot of time choose not to listen. And it's time to start listening. So what I do, whether it's this PH360, it's really about creating awareness around these type of things. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, epigenetic human performance coach. This is where we discuss all things lifestyle, environment, food, exercise, work, mind, and social interaction as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone. So if you're ready to start viewing you as an individual, take control of your life and health, and get results, buckle up, here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, and here is the place where we talk about everything lifestyle and environment and how it relates to our genetic expression. So today, you get me by myself, which is a rarity because I don't like sitting here just talking into the camera. I've had to do 6 takes because it's so uncomfortable for me to have no interaction. But the funny thing is, I am coming up on my 1-year anniversary of this labor of love podcast of mine. And I typically interview people like all the time. I've had 3 that I've done by myself. And so people have said to me, I really don't know what you do. And I think, how do you not know what I do? I talk about it all the time. And I go on other podcasts and I talk about it all the time. Personalized health. Okay, what the hell is personalized health that you do? You hear me talking about the activators and guardians and diplomats, and that's my PH360 platform. But have you guys ever really heard me talk much about DNA? Then probably not. I might throw out some snips here or there, or some different genes here or there when I'm talking to people. But again, most of you guys don't really know what exactly I do. And I am an epigenetic human performance coach. So I'm going to set the record a little bit straight here on what I do today. But really, because I think this is so important, I'm going to give you just a little basics on DNA. But I do, just for those of you who don't know, I do DNA testing. I've been doing DNA testing for over 6 years now. And it was my actual introduction into the world of epigenetics was DNA testing. So I'm a level 2 Epiron coach. Epiron is no longer out there. They're doing things completely differently now. And I have my own group that, so I have my Healthy Awakening kits. So I'm going to talk a bit about what my kits are like, but I'm also going to talk about other types of testing under DNA because there's so many different ones out there. And when you're investing in your health, you want to make sure that you're actually testing what you want to test to get the outcomes that you're actually looking to get. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. And even if you've had DNA testing done, this could be a good little refresher for you. And maybe it's just a different way to look at your DNA test, because here's the thing with any type of testing. If you don't understand it, don't understand how to implement it, work with it, it is just information. And I see people going down the rabbit holes of despair, name it, when they see DNA tests. And there's a reason you need to actually work with a coach. And I'm going to get to all of that. And if there's specific things around DNA that you want to hear on the podcast, hit me up. I'm here to bring you guys information that you want. And I've asked for suggestions, really not getting any. So I know there's a heck of a lot of you, and thank you, that tune into this podcast. Please, you can email me. You can message me on Facebook, Instagram, here, anywhere, and let me know what you'd like to hear or see on this Everyday Epigenetics podcast. These are for you. These aren't for me to just sit here and talk. Even I have a really good time doing this. I do this all day long, other than by myself. And there's some cool stuff coming up down that avenue. Anyhow, so DNA, we're going to talk about what is it, what's epigenetics, the benefits of DNA testing, the limitations of DNA testing, and how not all DNA tests are created the same. So those are the kind of things I'm going to be talking about today. It is a Monday. I'm trying to record this, so bear with me, buckle up, and get ready, because here we go into the world of epigenetics and DNA. So, what is DNA? DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. It codes your genetic information for the transmission of inherited traits, and is basically your genetic blueprint. I have talked about that till I'm blue in the face. DNA is like having your blueprint. DNA is not absolutes. DNA is probabilities and propensities. So just because your DNA says you might have a probability towards something or a propensity that this could happen genetically, it doesn't mean that is the absolute case. We have so much control over what our DNA does to express. And this is one thing I'm going to stress to you also through here, is about the expression of the DNA. Because you can have different pieces of a gene, what's actually expressing within that gene. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And it's coding within our DNA that provides us directions on how to make proteins that are vital for everything, basically your overall health and our development. So when we talk about a gene is the portion of the DNA that determines a trait. So hair color, eye color, height. And when we're looking at a gene, we're going to see two alleles following the actual gene. So if it's a COMT gene, what are the two letters following it? I'm an AA. Okay, so there's two letters there. They're called alleles. One's from mom, one's from dad. These are the things that got through in the womb. And they are a specific form of a gene, creating your genotype. And it shapes the individual. And they come in pairs, and there can be a normal, a variant. And you can have a combination of two normals, two variants, or one of each. Two of them is called homozygous, homo meaning one, and heterozygous is having one in both. So, or having one of each. So a variant is a single nucleotide polymorphism called a SNP. Okay, so when you hear someone says, I have this SNP. So the SNPs are what make us unique. They're a change in the base pair. It's a slight variant of the sequence of the DNA base. It's basically a version of the same gene with this variation. Okay. It's neither good nor bad. Sometimes they can be more impactful than others, like that COMT gene I talked about, that AA, two variants, is pretty stinking impactful on so many different levels. But yet, so is the GG, which is two normals. That can be super impactful. It's actually one of each, the heterozygous in there, that tends to be more on the normal side overall, okay? So bear with me here, okay? Now, hopefully I haven't lost anybody yet. Yeah, I'm trying to do like the layman's 101 on this. But what is epigenetics? So epigenetics is how our lifestyle and environment affect how our genes express. So like I said, we have so much control. What we look at in working with genomics, which I work with, is to alter the gene expression for optimal outcomes. We want to destabilize the current patterns that aren't working. And that's what we look at. We want to look at what are the patterns, what is actually expressing, and how do we want it to express, because we can control that. So it could be diet, exercise, supplements, social, our environment around us. All of these things come into play when we're working with epigenetics in a genomic umbrella. Now, benefits of DNA testing. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. This is pretty simple. When you see what your blueprint for your body is, how you were created, What are you looking at potentially things that could happen? Maybe there's some things happening and you're like, where the hell is this coming from? I thought I'm doing everything right. Maybe you're not. And it could be stemming from a genetic propensity. So, benefit again is having information. And some people I hear say, I don't want to know. It's scary. I don't want to know. Why would you not want to know? And I've said this on this podcast and every podcast I've done. Why would you not want to know? If you can measure it, if you can see it, if you can look at it, you can work with it. And that is a massive benefit. And again, I'll put myself, because I did not hit the genetic jackpot, people. I hit the genetic trash can a lot of ways. And I have to work with this. So in looking at, for instance, they're called ApoE genes, APOE. And I am an ApoE4. So I'm increased risk for Alzheimer's disease. Does that mean I'm going to get it? Not necessarily. I have so much control over that because there's a lot of it that is lifestyle driven. Saturated fats, glycemic foods, high glycemic foods. So you want to maintain good, healthy blood sugar levels. I stopped drinking cold turkey because alcohol can be a major factor here. Keeping my B vitamins good. Like I said, we look at these different things, what's expressing, what's not. I was following a paleo-ish, keto-ish type of diet, high saturated fats, thinking, hey, this is what everybody says is great. It's not for my body. When you look at my DNA, what I'm set up for and how I want it to express, because I don't want those genes to express. So I'm going to dial those back down. I take my fish oil. I exercise regularly. That's another big component there. Again, stop the drinking, things like that. So why would you not want to know what you're looking at? And especially, I'm adopted. So I have minimal contact with birth family. But a lot of people have seen different familial things within their families. So you got to know there might be something happening there. Do you want to stop if you had your grandfather and your father died of an early heart attack and your lipid numbers aren't looking so good, or maybe they're only testing the base levels of going, hey, your HDL looks great, you're fine. And maybe you're not. Like, let's do deeper dive and see what's happening. Do you want to stop that cycle so that your child doesn't have to say, wow, the 3 people before me went early? Do something that could have possibly been prevented or looked at or stopped in its tracks. So that's benefits. Some benefits of DNA is just knowing what you're looking at so that you can make better choices. DNA is not ever meant to diagnose, treat, or cure the type that I do, illness or disease. It's to help you make the most informed choices moving forward for a better quality of life and health outcomes. Okay. Now, DNA does have its limitations. And so people say, I always do consults. I want to talk to someone. They say, I want to do DNA. Okay, what are you looking to get out of the DNA? Because people don't realize that DNA does have some limitations. It cannot give you specifics on these are the exact foods you should eat. And I hear people say, I need to know what time I should eat, what to do, how to train. That's where I say, then you want to look at pH 360, or let's do them together. Because the DNA can't give you come back with exact times that you should be eating. It can't come out with the exact foods that you should be eating. And a lot of the DNA reports, and I will tell you, when I contracted with someone else, a practitioner for the last 2.5 years, I would always ask people, have you had DNA testing done? I can look at it if you had. I have seen pretty much every DNA report out there. And a lot of them will come back, lots of bells and whistles. They sure look pretty, but they don't tell you very much. And they're very generic recommendations that if this SNP is showing up for you, then we'll say MTHFR. Oh, you've got MTHFR variants. So you need to go on methylated vitamins right now. Let me tell you, looking at other genes and I'm going to use me as an example here because I am so far off the normal of anything. You guys haven't figured that out. I don't tolerate methylated supplements. The the agitation and nervousness is horrific. So there are some of us, it's not a whole lot, but I've had several clients that are the same way and they recognized it pretty quickly that don't tolerate that. So you'll see these printouts come out. You need to be on methylated supplements. The benefit of working with a coach that understands it and wants to sit and take the time, I spend at least 90 minutes with people going over a DNA report, looking at what's expressing, what's not, what further lab tests do we need to run to dig a little bit deeper or a lot a bit deeper, and really understand the individual as this complex system that they are and not just this report. And so you can't get super specific like that through DNA. That's why I always like to talk to people and say, what is it you're looking to get? Now, with me combining the two, the DNA with the pH360, because the pH360 can tell us exactly what times to eat, when to train, the types of training, and the exact foods that you should be eating according to your phenotype. And what do we say? That is, your phenotype is how everything is currently expressing. Okay. That's where DNA has its benefits. It is fantastic information to see how do you process saturated fats, because if you have a doctor that says, or a practitioner that says, you need to go keto, you need to go carnivore because you're dealing with it, your blood sugar's high. And these people, there's some people that go keto and carnivore and all of a sudden they see things start to get worse and they start to gain weight. And I look at that with pH360 lens as well, but I can go in and look at, if we do DNA, I can see through many different SNPs, like very impactful SNPs, have to do with inflammation, insulin resistance, and how someone actually processes saturated fats. When you have someone that's taking in, I've had people that were like 95 grams of saturated fats in a day, and one that was over 100. And she came back as very poor processing of saturated fats, where it increases likelihood. Remember, we're talking likelihoods, and I make sure I put this in reports. Likely increasing cholesterol, not in a good way. And there's ways we go deeper into that. And I talk about that on testing. How do we go deeper and see what's actually happening instead of these base lab numbers? Sometimes it can increase insulin resistance. It can increase obesity. It can increase metabolic syndrome incidence for these people. For others, they may process them really well and tend to do well on an eating plan that is more similar to that, tolerate a higher amount of saturated fats and not have those things happen. Now, again, that could potentially not be expressing where they genetically are set up to handle it well, but all the labs are showing that they're not. So again, it comes down to the expression of this DNA, and having someone work through this with you is pure gold. You can do a DNA test and get the report back. But again, if you don't get it, it's just information that's sitting there, likely causing a panic. Just some of your different tests there. You've got Ancestry and you have 23andMe. So those are ancestry-based tests. I know that the 23andMe offers a, quote, medical section. I actually had my DNA done through 23andMe. And when I ran it through even my old group, we could run it through our software at that time. It came up with so many things missing because it just didn't have that availability. So if you want a really good, impactful lifestyle dive, okay, because it's not just food, it's not just exercise. We want to look at what your detox system's like. What are your propensities around your vitamins and minerals? How about around hormones? How do you convert T4 to T3 if you've got thyroid issues and meds aren't working for you? Take a look at it. How do you convert? And just for people that don't know what I'm talking about there, T4 is inactive. Thyroid needs to be converted to the active T3. And if there's a impact. Again, look at me. I had to be on T3 only medication because every time they would give me T4, I didn't want to get out of bed. I was so tired because it would convert over to reverse T3, which made me lose my hair and made me feel exhausted and gain weight. And it was awful. And DNA was like my saving grace that helped me there. So again, look at how your tests are based. So if you are wanting really good, accurate, I'm going to talk about quality in a minute, accurate information around your health propensities, Ancestry, DNA, and 23andMe, probably not your best options. All right. Then you've got other companies that are lifestyle related, like I am. And I've seen, again, I've looked at everybody's, I've looked at all these different ones, and they can look really pretty and have a lot of bells and whistles, but some of them have very few SNPs I see that are just recycled the whole way through, a very small amount. I'm going to go into some numbers here as well, because my team has done some amazing research over this last year that I was begging for. So you have ancestral versus lifestyle. You've got us that are out with the lifestyle types, things that we can work with. The majority of them, I've seen people say they haven't met with a coach. Mine don't even get released to my people until after we go over it, because I don't want anybody going down any crazy rabbit holes. And again, I want people to understand things before they start digging deeper, which I advocate. Dig deeper. You're your best medical advocate. But let's see what's expressing. I'll see a lot of the same things just regurgitated through the whole thing. It's just a small amount of these SNPs that are able to work with. And I look for things that I know are impactful, and I'm like, they're not even here. And then you have some, I'm not going to mention his name, that are out there saying, I've got 5 SNPs all around methylation. They're going to tell you everything that's wrong with you, and we can fix it with my supplements. Okay. So do you want to just take a look at a few things that, trust me, are not the be all end all? And it's a 1-page report. One page. I saw this. 1 page. I was like, that's it. And it just says, here's my supplements to take. I was blown away. Now, if you want to spend your money on that, it's around $600 for 5 SNPs. 5. Go ahead. I don't fault you for that. I'm not hammering anybody here. I'm just telling you what the differences are. But you're looking at a very minute portion of what's happening, or the potential with your body. It doesn't tell you how it's working with different foods. It's not telling how your detox system's actually working. It's not talking about other vitamins and minerals other than potentially your B12, B6, folate. So do you want just a little piece of something? It's like, here you've got a big puzzle to put together, and you're putting together left corner, and you have the whole rest of the puzzle left. Do you want to leave it at that left corner? Or are you like, I want to put this whole puzzle together so I can see what it's going to look like at the end? And that's your health. And also, when you're looking at different genes or different genetic SNPs, there's some that are not so impactful when you look at them alone, but when you combine them with other genotypes or other SNPs, they can be super impactful. So again, when you have a complete picture, you get more of that information. My lab is, they're always adding new SNPs in. Every time I go to my report, it's update report. There's new panels we're putting in and adding new SNPs all the time, because there's always research going in. Is there enough research in a genetic SNP to even put it in there? If there's not enough research behind it, we don't put it in there. It's just crap. This one group has in their small group one genetic SNP that is supposed to be pretty impactful. My group researched it. There's no research behind it. It's basically, they're calling it a junk SNP. We did a mock of that group of 5, And they even did, my lab put a hole, and my research team, when they put it together, it was like, this gene doesn't even do anything here. And there's no research behind it. I don't even know why it's there. So you get what you pay for. Sometimes. I mean, that's pretty expensive for 5 SNPs. I'm not even twice that. And I'm going to get into numbers here. Quality. Okay. So on a different podcast, about a year ago, just a little over a year ago, I did the host DNA on air. Now, this was when I got my own group. I was using my Healthy Awakening. And I said, hey, let's do mine, because she had done another company's 2 years prior, because I looked at it. She was worried about the Alzheimer's gene because she had immediate relatives, die of Alzheimer's. And I looked at it and I was like, no, you're an ApoE3. You look good. And she's like, wow, that's just crazy. Because I swore that I would be, up there. And she was eating a very high saturated fat diet. So I went through my report and it came up in ApoE4. I about shit myself. I'm like, oh my God. So I immediately reach out to my lab and I'm like, okay, what the hell? Who's right here? Because this company, it was another company, a big, big company. And it was not 23andMe. It was a big lifestyle company. And I said, I don't know what to present here. Who's right? And they said, let us get on it. ApoE, what I found out is that ApoE genes are extremely hard to accurately type. And you have to rerun and rerun and rerun. And my lab has the utmost quality assurance in running these because they're aware of this. I think they say, like, some companies are like, yeah, it's good enough. We'll just throw this in there. It's just like, oh my God. And it came up without a doubt. They showed me the sequencing where you could see the different cells where they were. It was without a doubt an ApoE4. Had she not known that, because I said, you need to make these lifestyle changes, like PD. Let's drop the saturated fat significantly. I highly recommend severely limiting or eliminating alcohol. I went down the whole list. Luckily, she already exercised, and I recommended some fish oil and some other supplements to help work with that too. But that was pretty alarming that a huge company typed that incorrectly. Had I not caught that, it could be impactful. So quality matters. And I will tell you that we have the utmost quality assurance with Healthy Awakenings DNA. And then again, we're always researching, looking for the most impactful things to bring in to clients. Now, when all this went down just over a year ago, my group, our head researcher, who is just fantastic, he showed me, had started putting together like us versus DNA company, Healthy Awakening DNA versus DNA company, who's massive. And he said, but I still have to do more research on this. And I said, okay, do it. Now, again, this was a year ago, right? A year. Every single month I would message him and say, do you have that for me yet? Do you have that for me yet? Because I really wanted to wait to do this podcast when I could do some actual comparisons with numbers. And I'm not a numbers person, but I want to throw them out here. This is the latest, most up-to-date sequencing array with Healthy Awakening DNA and DNA Company's DNA. I think the numbers are going to surprise you. Again, stellar quality assurance with Healthy Awakening. And that was shown with being able to correctly type an ApoE SNP. There's over 505 SNPs that we put into the Healthy Awakening report. DNA Company, 96. Big difference right there. When you break it down, diet and nutrition, DNA Company SNPs, 17. Mine, 69. And again, I notice this as I go through these different reports. I'm like, where is this? Why are we not seeing this gene? Why are we not seeing this gene? Hormones, fitness, body type is how they record at 18. For mine, Healthy Awakening, hormones alone, 77. And fitness and exercise alone, 71. That's over 18 total. Again, the reports look great, but how deep do you want to dive into what your potential is? Micronutrients, toxicants, and inflammation. The two of those total 91 different SNPs that we report on. And the closest we could find with them is immunity and cardiovascular and inflammation. I think it was 23. Pretty impactful. Really, what are you looking to accomplish? That's what I always ask in a consult. Are you looking to find out pretty much precisely exactly what you want to do? Do you want to work with a coach? Now, I don't coach solely off of DNA. I did in the beginning, but it is not precise enough. We can get ideas. Hey, you don't handle saturated fats really well. Actually, you might do better with a little bit more carbohydrates in the areas of fruits and veggies. And maybe a high fat diet is not ideal for you. Maybe you might do better with a little more protein, or you might do better with not a high protein diet. Okay. So it's just so many different things go into it when you're looking with someone. So I think it's really important that you do a deep dive into yourself. What are you looking to accomplish? Because you're not going to get exacts with DNA, but you can get fantastic information. So I won't coach off of that because I have the PH360 platform. The PH360 is based on how you're formed in the womb, the predominant hormones that drive you. Again, I'll do a whole different podcast on this. And that your profile with the PH360 is unique to anybody else in the world because we're all so different and how our genes are expressing is different. So I've done identical twins, DNA, but there's different, their PH360 is going to be totally different because they're expressing differently. Okay. When I do DNA included in my price, I have to go through it. I go through it with tooth and nail, fine tooth comb. I go through that report so that I can present it accurately to my people. I'll a lot of times even do more research into it. If I see something, I know something that's potentially expressing and I want to go a deeper dive, I'll do that even before I meet with them. And from there, I'll recommend labs, any potential supplements. Again, the other companies will take this supplement and this supplement. Some of the supplements I see people taking are massive. And I'm going, why are you taking all that? I don't know. They just said to take this. Okay, I'm of the let's start low and slow. I don't like to throw all these things at everybody at once. I like to see how the body reacts and go from there and see what we can start when we start to see expression of DNA change. So then I have a 90-minute meeting with people. If they do more than 3 panels or so, then it's going to be an even longer meeting. And then it's basically a one and done unless they're doing the PH360 or doing the full coaching program with me. Then I have the user manual because the DNA is the blueprint. My PH360 is a user manual, but I can still work off of the blueprint, just not in the detail. I can give recommendations, but I just don't do a full coaching program because there's still too much guesswork in like exact foods and exact timing on things, which are actually crucial. So again, that's where limitations are with DNA, but PH360 isn't going to know whether you're a COMT-AA, if you have MTHFR variants, are you increased risk for Alzheimer's. So that's why I like to play the two together, if you're catching me now. Other groups, again, very generic with recommendations a lot of time that are not right for everyone, depending on how things are expressing or looking at more genetic genes that go into it all. You have to look at the person with what's happening and really take that time to understand you and what you're looking for. So that's the different types of DNA that are out there. That's what I do. I take the time to sit with my person, whether they're coaching with me or they're just doing DNA one and done. I did a man's DNA about a year and a half ago or a little more. And he had contacted me over Thanksgiving and asked me to do his two young daughters because we found something majorly impactful with his DNA that was backed up by blood test. It's a pretty rare genetic condition, but super impactful. I put him at high risk for early heart attack. And it showed up when we did the follow-up labs. And we had to I gave him information. He had to take it to doctors. And I think to get him on the show, I think he said it took 3 cardiologists to listen to him. And he's already seen the changes happening that we had wanted to get through getting that. So he asked me to do DNA on his 2 young daughters who also came up with the highest risk in those genes as well. So I've done genetics as young as an 18-month-old, and I've done them on an 80-year-old. Never too young, never too old. You can always work with things. And I think it's such a beautiful gift to have someone in their childhood, as they get older, understand what their body's possibilities are, how all of these choices that kids make and adults make, young adults, my choices are so completely different now compared to when I was a kid, or even 10 years ago, completely different because of DNA. And to have this information and be able to work with that, you can stave off so much, I think, and just have such a better quality of life later. And I'm just a huge proponent of helping your children, not just yourself, look at where decisions will take you. And so that's why I do what I do. I absolutely love it. That's why I say I save lives. I've found people with some things just not going in the right way, like really not the right way, and why. And we're able to stop some things from happening, which is just pretty phenomenal when you think about it. That just changes in lifestyle and environment. And in some cases, it might be one medication can make all that difference in the world. And if you haven't figured out by now, when you look at all the crap that's gone on for the last 5 years, all the lies, you have to be your own best medical advocate. You have to be. And the more and can stand up for yourself, there's nobody is a god. Not me, not a doctor. There's nobody that's a god, and nobody that knows your body as well as you do. Start paying attention. It gives signs. The body gives us signs. We just a lot of the time choose not to listen. And it's time to start listening. So what I do, whether it's this PH360, it's really about creating awareness around these type of things and make the best decisions moving forward. Again, you're never too young. You're never too old. DNA testing, you only have to do once. It's a cheek swab. And the DNA is not going to change. The expression of it changes all the time. But the DNA itself won't change. So you can test a child that you won't have to test the DNA again. That's the beauty of it. It literally is one and done. That's the great part. The PH360, that's always changing as you change that profile because it's about how everything's expressing as is. So hopefully that sheds some light on different DNA. I have my little outline here. I don't think I missed anything, but if you guys have questions, please, please, please reach out. I'm happy to answer your questions. You can email me, Susan@healthyawakening.co. You can message me on Facebook. You can message me on Instagram. Just feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm very approachable, and I want people to have as much information as possible to make the best decisions. And if you're wondering if we're potentially a good fit to work together, hit me up. Like, my consults are free. Let's talk. But you deserve to have an amazing quality of life. If you don't feel great, then we need to talk because you deserve it. So get out there, be your most authentic selves, and make it a great day Thank you so much for listening. And I hope this wasn't too confusing, but choose wisely. Please don't choose a DNA kit based solely off of price, whether you do it or not, solely off of price, but over the quality and what you're looking to achieve. Please be wise. Okay. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning into my podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I'd love for you to share it with someone who would find the information useful. Also, if you can leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts, it'll help the information get out to others. You can check out my podcast site and sign up for my newsletter for updates and upcoming shows, and that link is in the show notes below. And go make it a great day and let your authentic self shine.